Dear friends, may I declare the traditional session of the International Friendship Club open. Friday is the day of the English section, and judging by all this, they are going to have something very interesting today.
I hope so. On the agenda, talk on Great Britain and admission of new members. We are lucky to have Ivan Petrovich Fyodorov as our speaker today. I believe everybody knows him. He has just returned from his tour of Great Britain, so he has a lot to tell and show us today. Please, Ivan Petrovich.
Thank you. Well, to begin with, I suggest an informal talk. It'll be better for practice, so any questions or comments are invited. Let's view some slides first.
I've got a question. May I? What's the difference between Great Britain and England?
Let's begin with a map then. You see, the British Isles consist of two large islands, Great Britain and Ireland, and about 5,000 smaller ones. Great Britain includes England, Scotland and Wales. Great Britain and Northern Ireland, or Ulster as it's known, form the United Kingdom. The greater part of England is lowlands. On the other hand, Scotland and Wales are mainly mountainous areas.
And all this you could see during your trip?
Not quite. I'll tell you the truth. Actually, our group travelled for about 2 weeks, but I'd spent about 2 months in the library. I did quite a lot of reading on the subject, books about England, Ireland, Scotland, books on history, geography, economics, and politics.
Did everything come in useful?
Certainly. That's a helpful hint to all of you. Read as much as possible. It will come in useful sometime. And now about Great Britain. Please. We had our first glimpse of Britain at Heathrow Airport. Today, Heathrow is one of the largest airports in the world. It's served by nearly 70 airlines. Planes arrive and depart every 2 minutes. And airline buses run at frequent intervals.
Is Heathrow far from London?
No. The journey from Heathrow to London takes about 30 minutes by bus. That is, if you don't get caught in a traffic jam. London, the capital of one of the most highly industrialized capitalist countries of the world. The seat of the government. The home of millions of working people and an ancient city. The center of British cultural life, famous for its historical sites and tourist attractions.
And what places did you visit?
I'm coming to it. Besides London, we went to Preston, Liverpool, Sheffield, Coventry, Newcastle. We also went to Scotland.
And what impressed you most?
If you mean landscape, the answer is Scotland. But I'll show you Scotland later. Let's start with Preston. Are you ready? Preston is not a very large town, but it's developing fast today. In Preston, we visited the British Leyland Motors Works. 55,000 workers are employed here. They produce cars and buses and lorries. 95% of all the cars that run on the roads of Britain are made by British Leyland Motors. exports into 100 countries. Especially popular are Leyland double-deckers. Now, Preston is in Lancashire, which is a traditionally textile region, but today it's a fast-developing area for the aircraft and car industry. Now, it's also one of the chief areas for chemicals, electrical engineering and electronics.
Cities are there in Lancashire?
Well, there's Liverpool in the first place. Liverpool, you know, is the largest city of the region. It's Britain's chief port of export, the greatest centre for processing imported foodstuffs and raw materials. After Liverpool, we travelled through the famous Black Country, the region for metallurgy and heavy industry, the old coal mining area. And then we went to Coventry. Coventry is also an important centre of the aircraft and car industry. In World War II, it was badly damaged by the fascist bombs. Now it's been completely reconstructed. The centre of the Midlands is Birmingham, an old manufacturing town. And after that, we visited Sheffield in Yorkshire.
Which is famous for its steel.
Absolutely right. In Sheffield, they produce all kinds of wares. Knives and forks, all kinds of machinery, even aircraft and missiles. But the traditional industry in Yorkshire is woolen textiles, including knitted goods. Agriculture in Great Britain is mainly where the lowlands are. Sheep are a part of an English landscape. The traditional British animal for breeding is sheep. But mind you, the main stock of wool comes from Australia and New Zealand. Dairy farming is widely practiced too.
I understand the quality of the produce is high, isn't it?
Yes, both in industry and agriculture, emphasis is laid on quality. As England can't compete in mass production, it's the only way for the country to survive. We also went to Newcastle, a large industrial centre in the north-east of England. It ranks second in the country after the Glasgow docks and shipbuilding yards. The working class of Great Britain. Workers like these can be seen in the East End of London, in the factories of Manchester. Newcastle is one of Britain's main ports of import. Non-ferrous metals and oils are imported here.
And still, what impressed you most?
I may sound trivial, but I liked London most of all. So here is my home movie. We arrived in London on a Sunday morning.
Ah, the traditional London fog.
I wouldn't call it traditional. True, the weather is changeable in England, but it doesn't always rain, as some of us may think. The rainy and foggy season is late autumn and winter. A boat trip on the River Thames is a favourite of all visitors to London. The Discovery, Captain Scott's polar research ship. He sailed in it to the South Pole. St. Paul's Cathedral, a masterpiece designed by Christopher Wren that dominates London. The Towers of London is one of the most popular tourist attractions, a medieval fortress with armories and historical relics.
It's a museum now, isn't it?
Yes, 900 years of history are behind its gates. The beefeaters who guard the tower still wear Tudor uniforms. Tower Bridge is a tall structure. Its two halves can go up and down and allow seagoing ships to enter the Pool of London. Sunday in England is something special. Shops are closed, no heavy traffic, no theatres, no professional football. In marked contrast to the situation in most European countries, Nelson's column, the lions and fountains in Trafalgar Square. Feeding the pigeons, you know, in Trafalgar Square is a favourite pastime of many Londoners. But Trafalgar Square is also a traditional place for meetings and demonstrations. Then it doesn't look quite so peaceful, and these policemen also look different. Piccadilly Circus is known as the heart of London's West End.
Did you go to the National Gallery and the Tate?
Certainly. But what I want to show you is paintings by other artists.
A street exhibition?
Yes. Such artists working on the pavements can still be found in the central streets of London. Beautiful London parks are full of people on Sundays. According to statistics, there are 7 square metres of green area for each Londoner, on average.
The lungs of London.
Yes, that's how they're called. And the parks are beautiful. They've been planned to look as natural as nature itself. Walking in the London parks, you have the feeling that you're far, far away in the country. By the way, it was a perfect place to observe how Londoners live, the way they relax. And now, I'm going to take you to the London Zoo. This film section, please.
Hurry up.
The London Zoo covers 36 acres and contains a collection of some 6,000 animals. The Zoological Society of London runs it, as well as a country zoo at Whipsnade. Young visitors always enjoy making friends with the animals. Meet Johnny Parrot and Bobby the Elephant. And now, let's go on to more serious problems. Sunday morning is the time for marketing. There are a few popular markets in London. Petticoat Lane in the East End of London is not only a market, but a kind of entertainment.
So this is the famous Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park.
Where speakers can talk to the people about all sorts of things.
Yes, politics, religion and all that. Don't you think it's hypocritical on the part of the authorities? They permit free speech at Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park, but they arrest those who demonstrate their disagreement with government policy. Everybody knows what's happening in Ulster today. Buckingham Palace, the Queen's official residence in London. Windsor Palace. Like the Tower of London, this imposing castle was built by William the Conqueror. It's used as the Queen's residence at weekends and in spring. It houses a large collection of paintings. The Queen is at the head of the state, but she is constitutional.
What does it mean, the Queen is constitutional?
Well, you see, Great Britain is a monarchy, but the Queen's powers are limited by Parliament. The Prime Minister is usually the leader of the party that has a majority in the House of Commons. The party which obtains the majority of seats in the House is called the government, and the second main group, the opposition. So in fact, they have a two-party system. The British Parliament consists of two houses, the House of Commons and the House of Lords. The Commons chamber. The government party is on the right of the Speaker's chair, the opposition on the left. The Speaker's chair. The Peers' chamber. According to tradition, the Queen attends the opening ceremony and makes a speech. When Parliament is in session, the light on the clock tower is on. The city, in fact, is the oldest part of London. Here is the Stock Exchange, a witness to many financial storms and crises. The Bank of England. Whitehall, a street of government offices. Fleet Street, the centre of British journalism. Not only London papers are published here, but papers of all other parts of the country. Many new houses are being built today, but they don't solve the housing problem of the poor. The Royal Festival Hall, a multi-storied garage. The Post Office Tower, the highest building in Great Britain today. A new market, one of the shopping areas. The exotic fruit are imported from other countries, so when the dockers are out on strike, the Londoners are left without bananas and lemons.
So many things on display, but can everyone afford to buy them?
Ah, that's a good question. At Harrods, one can see a dress displayed in the shop window costing £450. There's always a shop nearby, that personal touch of an old city. Great Britain is the pound sterling, which is now divided into 100 pence.
They changed over to decimal currency in 1971, didn't they? Is it more convenient?
It is, especially for tourists.
And the cost of living is rising, isn't it?
Oh, yes, and quite substantially. Let's go on. London, as all other big cities of the world, has serious transport and environmental problems. Traffic jams, traffic fumes, road accidents. Even the Underground can't solve these problems. The London Underground has 8 tube lines.
The English are still driving on the left. Are there any more countries with left-hand traffic?
They have left-hand traffic in Australia, Sweden, Iceland, Japan, and some other countries. I'm afraid, though, we're wandering from the point.
Are there any trolley buses in London?
No. No trams, no trolleybuses. Apart from private cars, the 4 basic ways of getting about are bus, underground, taxi, or on foot.
They say walking is often quicker. Of course, if you're only going a short distance.
Sometimes it is. There are serious traffic problems in London. And now, a few more slides. I think every Soviet tourist comes to this place. This monument to Karl Marx was erected by international subscription in 1956, the house where Marx used to come. Now there's a library named after him. In this house, Lenin edited the newspaper Iskra. In 1902, Lenin worked a lot in the reading hall of the British Museum. In the library register, we can see both Marx and Lenin's signatures.
But there is no name of Lenin here.
The thing is that Lenin was listed in the library under the name of Jacob Richter. Jacob Richter is no one else but Lenin.
Have you visited any places connected with Russian names?
I've already told you about it, but it's really impossible to mention everything here. And now, Cambridge, please. Cambridge and Oxford are very old university towns. Cambridge University consists of 19 colleges. Enthusiastic sportsmen find the River Cam ideal for boating. By the way, women students were not admitted to Cambridge almost until the end of the 19th century. Oxford University dates from the 12th century and is also composed of a number of colleges. Only a very small percent of the British students admitted to Cambridge and Oxford are of working class origin. The same goes for public schools.
Schools for the privileged. Are engineers trained in the universities?
No, only in colleges of technology. But one can also receive technical education in the latest universities of technology. Here you see the campus of Sussex University, one of the new universities founded by government decision after the Second World War to found autonomous universities. You know, it's impossible to speak about higher education as a unified thing in Great Britain. Courses are enormously varied.
Did you meet many people in London?
Yes, quite a lot. You know, it was a specialized trip, and we were often invited to meet people working in industry, transport, and technology. Besides these booklets, the firms we visited presented us with some slides and the film we've just seen. We've been only to London. And now it's time to view a bit of Scotland, where everything is like a fairy tale. Forts, lakes, hills, castles. These dances come from an ancient Celtic culture. A charming sight. Scotland is a country of beautiful lakes, mountains and castles. Mention should be made here that Scotland is not a highly industrialized part of Great Britain. Edinburgh, Scotland's capital city. A wonderful town where you pass from scenes of tales of long ago to modern shops and attractions. The past and the present are so blended that the old seems more real than the new. Scott Monument, the statue of Sir Walter Scott, the great son and writer of Scotland. This region produces 90% of all Britain's whiskey. It's widely exported into the USA and other countries. One can't possibly be in Scotland and miss a football match. A match between the teams of Glasgow and Edinburgh. And these places are full of the spirit of Robert Burns, Scotland's national poet. Not far from Glasgow, in Alloway, there is a small cottage. Here Robert Burns was born and here he lived. His birthplace, a simple thatched cottage, is a museum now. It's open to the public. And now I'll show you a place of interest connected with famous English writers. Here you are. The house Bernard Shaw was born in is far, far away from London. It's in Dublin, the capital of Ireland. Not many people think of Shaw as an Irishman, but that's in fact what he was. But in this house he lived for many years. He died here at the age of 94.
When he came to the Soviet Union in the 30s, he was already an old man. I've read somewhere that in his youth, he met Engels and wrote to Chekhov.
Every day at 10:15, Bernard Shaw started working at his desk. He died in this wheelchair. Stratford-on-Avon, a small town in the centre of England. It has become famous as the birthplace of William Shakespeare, the great poet and dramatist of England. This is the house where William Shakespeare was born in 1564 and spent his early years. Part of the building is furnished and partly accommodates a unique collection of objects illustrative of the life, time and works of the poet. Shown here is the Royal Shakespeare Theatre. It is a famous attraction for people from all over the world. The great plays of Shakespeare are as popular today as many years ago. So, that will be the end of our trip to the British Isles. Just a few glimpses of England. Thank you very much for your attention.